A man was trapped inside a strange, sealed room. Every day, he had to rotate a heavy stone mill exactly 720 times. Even when he was completely exhausted, he didn't dare slack off, because if he failed to hit the target, he could lose his life. The room only came with 1 bottle of water and a single sandwich per day. He even had to eat, drink, and relieve himself in that tiny space. Despite the brutal conditions, he survived like this for 2 whole years. The story began one morning, when Blake woke up to find himself locked in this eerie room. His first instinct was to reach into his pocket, but his phone had been taken away. Blake banged on the door, begging someone to let him out, but after shouting for what felt like forever, no one answered. He had no idea why he was there. Just a moment ago, he had been applying for an executive job. How did he suddenly end up in this nightmare? While he was yelling, a man's voice came from the room next door, telling him to shut up. Blake rushed to the air vent, following the sound. The neighbor explained that they were all here for the same reason. They had applied for jobs. But to get the position, they had to pass an experiment. The neighbor warned him the next few days would be the toughest and told him to brace himself. Before Blake could ask more questions, the man cut him off, saying he had to get back to work. Blake tried climbing the walls to escape, but the 3 surrounding walls had nothing to grip. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find a way out. As he was planning his next move, he heard a whistle from the other side of the door. Someone tossed in food and water. Blake quickly reached out and pleaded, "Please, let me out. I don't want the job anymore. My wife's pregnant. She's waiting for me to come home." But instead of helping him, the person stabbed his hand with something sharp, and that wasn't even the worst part. As Blake reached for the food, an ear-splitting alarm went off. Suddenly, gut-wrenching screams and wails filled the air around him. Terrified, he curled up in a corner. He had no idea what his neighbors had done to deserve such cruel punishment, but the screams were real and horrifying. Blake spent the whole night paralyzed in fear. The next morning, following orders, he tossed his trash into a chute near the door. That's when he noticed a few strands of hair on the floor. Curious, he looked closer and uncovered a skull. He jumped back in horror. Desperate for answers, he rushed to the vent and asked the neighbor what was going on. Calmly, the man told him, "That used to be one of us." Blake was stunned. But this is a legit company. How could something like this happen? The neighbor's next words crushed every ounce of hope he had left.